Hi everyone, welcome back to my astrology channel. Today we're going to talk about Mars in your sixth house of your horoscope. To understand that, let's first talk about what is Mars, okay? So what is Mars? Mars is, you can take Mars as a commander of the universe. So if Sun is the king and Moon is the queen, then Mars is a commander of the universe. So Mars is raw action. It's a warrior. Mars is going to go and get that action done, get that job done via the action. Okay, it doesn't think about the consequences. It just likes to get the job done. So Mars is also courage. Mars is aggression. So if you have someone sitting, if you have Mars sitting in the first house, that person may be very aggressive. We're going to talk about more qualities of that, but I wanted you to understand what Mars is. All right. So it's a warrior, it's a commander, it's aggressive. It can get temperamental very easily. By it, the native who has this placement can get aggressive very easily, can get angered very easily. Then they don't know what they're doing with their actions when they get angry. Because commander's job, the warrior's job, is basically to go out there and do the war. They don't think who is getting killed, who's getting hurt, whose emotions are at line. So that's kind of like your Mars, okay? And now let's talk about the three different aspects of Mars, okay? To understand how and what Mars does on the house, we want to understand Mars and then the aspects. So Mars has three different aspects. First aspect is going to be on the fourth house from where Mars sits. The second aspect is going to be on the seventh house from where Mars sits. And the third aspect is going to be on the eighth house from where Mars sits. Why does Mars have the fourth aspect? Mars, because it's a warrior, and the fourth house in the Kalpurush Kundali is of the house of the home and the mother. Your homeland, your motherland. It's a house of happiness. So warriors are supposed to protect your homeland, your motherland. So Mars has that special aspect that no other planet has, the fourth aspect, to protect its motherland from where it's sitting. The second aspect is on the seventh house from where it's sitting. Every planet has a seventh aspect. And as I always say, it's kind of like give and take. You give and you get. So Mars by nature is a malefic. It's a natural malefic. So if you give that house malefic, you're going to get back malefic many folds. Just like I mentioned in my Jupiter videos, the seventh aspect, if you give it love, you get back love many folds. So that's kind of the seventh aspect, because it's a straight up 100% aspect on it, drishti, because it's the house is right in front of you. You can't miss it. You're going to look at it. So the next aspect is the eighth house. Why do we have the eighth aspect? Why does Mars have it? Well, in the Kalpurush Kundali, Mars rules the first and the eighth house. So Mars has a special aspect of watching over his own house. Okay, so eighth house is Scorpio, but whatever sign it's placed, it doesn't matter when Mars is aspecting it, because that's going to be the eighth aspect. No other planet has the eighth aspect. So Mars has the fourth and that eighth aspect separate from all the other planets. Jupiter has the 5, 7, 9. Mars has the 4, 7, and 8. Now the eighth aspect, what does Mars do over there? So eighth is his own house. What do you do when you look at your own house? You're going to try to kill off the enemies of that house. So for instance, let's say that eighth aspect ends up being on the fourth house. Now the fourth house is the house of happiness, as I just mentioned. Now Mars is going to want to kill the enemies of the happiness for that native. So that's good. It may seem not good while it's happening, but at the end of the day, that's what Mars' goal is. So now that you understood what Mars is, what are the aspects, let's go into what Mars does when it sits in your houses. All right, so let's talk about Mars in the sixth house of your horoscope. What is house 6? House 6 is the house of pain, debt, disease. It is the house of your enemies, conflicts, It is one of the three Shaddai homes, 3, 6, and 11. So sixth house is actually really good to have a planet like Mars in. Because what does Mars do? As I mentioned earlier in the video, it is an aggressive planet. It's raw, action packed. It just wants to go fight. So house 6 also represents your court cases, litigation. It's also your pets, and it's also your daily service and job. So when you have Mars sitting in your house 6, you could kind of assume that, hey, the daily service or job is going to get impacted because Mars is sitting there. Mars sitting there is helping you fight those court cases, is helping you fight pain, debt, disease. So this is actually a great placement for a lawyer who's fighting court cases, who's dealing with fights. Great placement for a doctor fighting pain, fighting disease, a surgeon. Great placement for a financier who deals with people's debt scenarios all the time. So this is a great placement for that. Even a veterinarian, you've got pets and you're dealing with people's pain or animals' pain. So that's where 6 is. But again, if somebody has this placement, I would recommend them to do a business. So if they're a doctor, have their own business, perhaps they would face less of a struggle in their own business as a doctor, in their own practice as a lawyer, etc. Because if you are working under someone, then you're servicing that person, that hospital. Now you can see some issues at your workplace. However, you're still dealing with correcting people's pain, their disease, and fighting for their cases, etc. So Mars in this placement makes you a good fighter. Here's the thing: you are going to get those issues in your life. There are people that don't get those kind of issues, that never have to see a day in the court, that never have to have any kind of hospital trip. Great. But this particular person with this Mars placement may have to deal with something like that, but it's there to make them be a fighter. So that they fight and they become strong. That's perhaps one of their goals in this life that they've come here with to do. So again, depending on what sign Mars is placed in here, we'll go more into it. For example, Mars is sitting here in a Gemini sign, which would be dealing with your younger siblings. So perhaps something to do with conflicts with your younger siblings, that you were in conflict with them in the past life and you never finished it, or you have to fix it this time. You have to either do the conflicts or you have to fix it, where you have to patch up. So that's kind of an example for you. So we have to always look at the sign, and there's 12 different signs. And we also look at the associations. Who else is sitting here with Mars, All right, now let's talk about the aspects that Mars is sitting right here. The first aspect it's placing is on house number 9, okay? We again have to look at any other planet sitting in house 9 on what that planet and the Lord of the house would have the influence on. But Mars sitting in the 6th house, aspecting the 9th house, is going to give it's going to kill the enemies of that house, because it's doing warfare in that house, as I mentioned, right? 4th aspect is protecting your homeland. So what this person is going to want to do is going to protect the homeland. So that may result in aggressive behavior towards the father. The father may have aggressive behavior towards this native, or it may be aggressive behavior towards the people that the father finds to be well connected to. Something to do with that. House number 9 is your father. It's your gurus, your teachers. It is also your spirituality. It's your higher studies. It is your area of the thighs. So it is also your foreign travels, your long distance travels. I don't want to say foreign travels, long distance travels. So Mars sitting here, if Mars is benefic for your chart, may not give you as many issues. It may still impact that relationship. Perhaps father is just distant. Perhaps father is not present. Perhaps father is absent, as I mentioned, that 4th aspect. Perhaps father is just busy in his daily life, earning the earnings and not giving as much attention to the children or to this person. That could also be an issue. Maybe this person is always having trouble finding a good teacher. They're not able to get a really good teacher that they can find. Maybe they don't know where to go in their higher studies. They're just having trouble figuring that way out. Or spirituality, they would like to do more research on spirituality, but they just cannot find that right guru. So that's kind of your fourth aspect for this placement. Let's talk about its seventh placement. That's going to be on house number 12. As I always said, it is what you give is what you get back. So this is a house of isolation. It is a house of detachment. It is a house of hospitals, house of jails. Again, because of that isolation. It is a house of losses because of the expenses. It is also a house of meditation. When you're isolated, when you're left alone by the people that you love, then you move towards meditation. That's one solace that a lot of people find in. So this particular person would have that feeling that they have been left alone, you know. So that's kind of your seventh aspect in that house. Let's talk about the eighth aspect. Eighth aspect is on the house number 1, first house. Again, what did so I mentioned about eighth house, that it's a house of transformation, sudden loss, sudden gain. It is also the house of secrets, house of research, detective work, house of occult sciences, surgery, underground work, those kind of things. So now when you have the eighth aspect on your own house, this person is always going to struggle. The most struggle that they're going to face will have to do with themselves. Perhaps perhaps they have lower self-confidence, lower self-esteem. And Mars is placing that aspect on their first house, telling them that, hey, I want to kill the enemies of this house. That's the eighth house. Remember, eighth house is Mars's own house. So for Mars to kill the enemies, if the person has lower self-esteem, self-doubt, lower self-confidence, then Mars is trying to kill that to get that person to be very confident. Okay, so whatever this person may have trouble with in their life, Mars is going to try to kill that trouble to bring this person, to transform this person into the kind of person that they want to be, that they came in this life to be. Okay, so you can kind of see, you can connect the dots and see this person may have some father issues, maybe a distant father, absent father, may feel isolated because father is so absent. Again, we have to see the position of the other charts. Where's the mother? Where are the younger siblings, older siblings, those kind of things as well. But maybe this person has a very beneficial mother. Maybe this person has something else in the mother's chart or a bad aspect on the mother. The mother's not available either. So the seventh house would be the isolation house, would have something to do with that. Now you connect the dots and you see that this person may suffer from a low self-esteem if they have an absent father, if they feel isolated. They may feel like, hey, nobody wants me. So that's the kind of thing that could happen. But being in house number 6, this person is gonna be a fighter. This person's gonna get things thrown at them that's gonna make them a fighter and have that higher self-esteem, that self-confidence that yes, I can do these things. In fact, I can help other people. Okay, so if you have Mars sitting in your 6th house, please go ahead and write that down, how much you can resonate with this reading. And we do personal horoscope readings as well, so reach out to us if you'd like to have your own personal horoscope read. And don't forget to hit subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of our new videos. And hit like and share the video. Thank you so much for watching.